I lay sprawled on the cold kitchen tiles, clutching my abdomen as a sharp pain sliced through me, feeling as if a knife twisted inside. My young daughter, Catherine, stood nearby, her face a mask of fear. "Mommy, are you okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. Despite the intense discomfort, I forced a calm smile. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just a little stomachache," I lied, hoping to shield her from the gravity of my situation. Footsteps echoed in the hallway, and my husband, Willie, appeared in the doorway, irritation etched on his face rather than concern. He stood there, suitcase in hand, ready for his trip. "What's going on, Amy? Why are you on the floor?" he asked, his tone more annoyed than alarmed. "I think it's appendicitis, Willie. It's really bad. We need to go to the hospital," I gasped, each word tinged with agony. He scoffed, dismissing my words. "Appendicitis? You're probably just overreacting. It's probably just indigestion." I opened my mouth to argue, but a jolt of pain silenced me. Willie glanced at his watch, impatience radiating off him. "I can't miss my trip with Carol. Just call a taxi or something," he suggested, waving me off as if my condition were a mere inconvenience. Disbelief washed over me as I tried to speak again. "Willie, I can't even move. Catherine's here. I need you," I pleaded, desperation thick in my voice. He shook his head, unyielding. "It's probably nothing. Call if it gets worse." With that, he walked away, suitcase trailing behind him. I lay there, racked with pain, with only Catherine by my side. Her small hands grasped mine, tears welling in her eyes. "Mommy, don't be sick. You have to be okay," she sobbed. Summoning what little strength I had left, I pulled her close. "I'm here, darling. Mommy's here." With Willie gone, a sense of urgency washed over me. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone and dialed the one person I knew would come, my brother, Russell. The phone rang, breaking the heavy silence of the kitchen. "Hello?" His voice was a lifeline. "Russell, it's Amy. I need help. I think it's appendicitis. I can't move," I managed to say, each word a struggle against the pain. Catherine clung to me, her fear palpable. "And Catherine is scared," I added, my voice cracking. After a brief pause, Russell's calm, reassuring voice came through. "I'm on my way. Amy, hold tight. I'll be there soon." As I rested on the cold tile floor, I closed my eyes, trying to endure the sharp pain. Catherine stayed close, her small presence a faint comfort amidst the chaos. In that moment, I felt a profound shift within me. Willie's indifference during such a critical time wasn't just hurtful, it was a betrayal that marked a turning point in our relationship. As I awaited Russell's arrival, it became painfully clear that things would never be the same. Later, in the sterile environment of the hospital, surrounded by the rhythmic beeping of machines, a soothing calm enveloped me. The surgery to remove my inflamed appendix had been successful, but the emotional scars Willie had left behind lingered. I called my parents to care for Catherine while I recovered. Their voices were filled with concern, and the unspoken questions about Willie's absence hung heavily in the air. 2 days later, I returned home, the physical pain now a dull ache, a faint reminder of everything I had endured. Catherine's excitement at my return was a bright spot in the otherwise cloudy day. "Mommy, you're back. Are you all better now?" Her innocent question warmed my heart. "I'm getting there, sweetie," I replied, pulling her into a tight embrace, grateful for her comforting presence. However, our peaceful reunion was shattered the very next day by the loud slam of the front door. Willie and his sister, Carol, stormed in, frustration etched across their faces. "Why didn't you pick us up yesterday? We had to pay extra for a taxi and train fares." Willie's accusatory tone filled the room as he strode into the living room. A surge of anger welled up inside me at his audacity. "Welcome back. Must have been quite a trip," I said coldly, locking eyes with him. Willie halted, taken aback by my frosty reception. Even Carol seemed surprised by the palpable tension. "What's with the attitude, Amy?" Willie demanded, bewilderment creeping into his voice. "I couldn't hold back any longer. While you were enjoying your trip," I said, standing firm in the living room, my voice steady yet charged with anger. "I was in the hospital." I glared at him and at Carol, whose demands had often pulled Willie away from his responsibilities at home. Carol's face flushed red, and Willie looked genuinely confused. "What are you talking about? You're fine, right?" he replied dismissively. "It's not just about being okay, Willie. It's about being there when your family needs you," I shot back, my frustration boiling over. Before Willie could respond, the door swung open, revealing Russell, our parents, and Willie's parents. Their eyes were filled with varying shades of anger and disappointment, all fixated on Willie and Carol. "Why is everyone here?" Willie's voice trembled, his usual bravado faltering under their scrutiny. Taking a deep breath, I summoned my strength to articulate the hurt and betrayal. "Willie, you left Catherine and me alone when we needed you most. I was in the hospital, and you weren't there. I told everyone everything." Willie seemed to shrink under their gazes, his bravado nowhere to be found. His eyes darted around, searching for an ally, but found none. "It's not just about this incident, Willie. It's about all the times you've prioritized Carol over your own family," Russell added, disappointment heavy in his tone. Carol, usually so confident, appeared uneasy, her eyes flicking between the floor and the upset faces around her. Willie scrambled for excuses and justifications, but the room was thick with tension. For me, this was a pivotal moment. I realized I couldn't keep living under the shadow of Willie's neglect. It was time for change, time to stand up for myself and protect Catherine. The meeting ended without resolution, but for me, it marked the start of a new chapter, one where I would no longer tolerate being overlooked. The message from the day's events was clear. I had the unwavering support of our families, and Willie's indifference had become glaringly apparent. As they left, Willie's parents exchanged sympathetic glances with me, an unspoken acknowledgement of their son's failings. That night, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I knew my life was heading in a new direction. As I lay in bed, the day's confrontations replayed in my mind, stirring a whirlwind of emotions: anger, disappointment, and an emerging sense of empowerment. Willie's true colors had come to light, making it clear that it was time for me to reclaim control over my life. The days that followed were charged with unspoken words and strained silences. Willie tried to maintain a facade of normalcy, but the air between us was thick with tension. During this time, I reflected on my deep-seated unhappiness and the undeniable need for change. The decision I was leaning toward wasn't easy, but it felt essential, like finally being able to breathe after feeling suffocated for far too long. One evening, while Willie casually flipped through TV channels, I approached him with a folder in hand. My heart raced, but my resolve was unwavering. "Willie, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady. He looked up, irritation flashing across his features. "What now, Amy?" Taking a deep breath, I handed him the folder. I want a divorce," I declared. Willie stared at me, disbelief and scorn etched on his face. "Divorce? That's absurd. Amy, you're blowing this out of proportion," he retorted. I shook my head, a surge of empowerment flooding through me. "It's not an exaggeration. I've thought long and hard about this. You've consistently prioritized Carol over me and Catherine. I can't continue like this." Willie sneered, his voice dripping with condescension. "You really think you can manage on your own? Don't be naive, Amy. His words were meant to cut deep, but I held my ground. I'm not naive, Willie. I understand what this means, but I'd rather face uncertainty than remain invisible in my marriage. He laughed coldly, the bitter sound hanging in the tense air. Good luck, Amy. You'll regret this once you realize how tough it is out there. His dismissal only fueled my determination. Anger surged within me, not just at his words, but at the years of feeling sidelined. This moment, fraught with challenges, marked a new beginning for me, a step toward reclaiming my life and my self-worth. Maintaining my composure, I declared firmly, "This is my decision, and I'm sticking to it." For a brief moment, it seemed as though Willie might argue further, but instead, he shrugged, a smug smirk spreading across his face. "Fine, have it your way, but just remember, I warned you," he said dismissively, turning back to the TV, ignoring me once again. Amidst a whirlwind of emotions, fear was undoubtedly present, but it was overshadowed by an overwhelming sense of liberation. I was finally taking charge of my life, stepping out of the shadows. The next day, I embarked on the legal process for divorce. The paperwork and legal procedures felt daunting, but my resolve remained firm. My parents and my brother, Russell, provided invaluable support, offering help and encouragement along the way. As the process unfolded, Willie's true nature became increasingly evident. He was dismissive and uncooperative, trying to intimidate me into giving up. But I stood my ground, fortified by my family's support and a burgeoning sense of empowerment. As time passed, the cracks in Willie's facade deepened. The charming, confident man I had married revealed himself to be selfish and manipulative, his true self laid bare for all to see. The divorce proceedings were arduous, but I approached each challenge with bravery. Each step forward was a testament to my newfound determination. I was no longer the woman who had lain ignored and in pain on the kitchen floor. I was reclaiming my life, my dignity, and my happiness. The divorce process was exhausting, punctuated by Willie's incessant attempts to undermine and belittle me. In our meetings, he would sneer and make derogatory remarks about my parenting and my future without him. However, his words only fueled my determination to break free from his toxic influence. "Enjoy your struggles, Amy," Willie taunted during one of our final meetings. "You'll soon see how good you had it with me." His arrogance was infuriating, but I maintained my composure. I'd rather face challenges every day than spend another moment with someone who has so little regard for his family, I replied firmly. For a brief moment, Willie's smug demeanor faltered, replaced by a flicker of anger that he quickly masked with a scoff. My resolve was clear. I was moving forward, no longer tethered by his disdain. I could sense that my words had struck a nerve. On the day the divorce was finalized, I felt a peculiar mix of relief and anxiety. I was finally free from Willie, yet the path ahead appeared daunting. However, as I stepped out of the courthouse, a surge of liberation swept through me, revitalizing my spirit. In the weeks that followed, Willie's life began to unravel. His neglectful behavior during our marriage and the news of our separation became hot topics among his coworkers. Those who had once admired him now regarded him with pity and disdain. His charming facade had crumbled, revealing the pettiness and selfishness lurking beneath the surface. The news of our divorce spread quickly through our community, thanks in part to my well-connected cousin, Willie, who had always been preoccupied with his image and reputation, suddenly found himself the subject of whispered conversations and judgmental glances. Carol, too, was not spared from scrutiny. Her involvement in our marital issues became widely known, and friends and neighbors began to view her with suspicion and disapproval. The once solid bond she shared with Willie now appeared strained and uncomfortable. One evening, as I picked up Catherine from school, I noticed the weight of the world lifting off my shoulders. I overheard a heated argument between Willie and Carol outside their house, their voices laden with blame and resentment. "This is your fault," You're the reason we're in this mess. Willie's frustration was unmistakable as his voice rose. Don't you dare put this on me, Carol snapped back, her anger clear. You're the one who couldn't keep your family together. The public quarrel was a stark contrast to the united front they once presented. The discord sown by their selfish actions had finally surfaced, and now they were forced to face the consequences. As I walked away with Catherine, a wave of vindication washed over me. Willie and Carol were reaping the results of their choices, and the cracks in their relationship had finally split wide open. Their downfall was entirely of their own making. That night, as Catherine slept peacefully in her room, I stood by the window, reflecting on the past few tumultuous months. The journey had been long and painful, but it had brought me to a place of strength and self-respect. I had stood up not just for myself, but for Catherine's future as well. Though the road ahead was uncertain, I felt more prepared than ever to face it, bolstered by the confidence I had reclaimed. In the aftermath of the divorce, life began to settle into a quieter, more fulfilling rhythm. The weight of my unhappy marriage had lifted, leaving room for a refreshing sense of independence. Rebuilding my life became my focus, and Catherine was by my side every step of the way. Securing a job was my top priority, though the gap in my resume from years spent dedicated to motherhood weighed on my mind. But my determination was unwavering. After several interviews, I finally landed a position at a small accounting firm. The firm, run by a supportive woman who valued working mothers, provided a flexible and understanding environment. It was exactly what I needed. Catherine, too, adapted to our new life with the resilience only a child possesses. She started kindergarten, quickly making new friends and embracing her schoolwork with joy. Her laughter and chatter filled our home, replacing the tense atmosphere that had once stifled us. Yet, despite these positive changes, whispers from my past occasionally found their way to me. One afternoon, while dropping Catherine off at school, I overheard a group of parents talking. "That's her, Amy. Her husband couldn't stand being with her anymore," one of them murmured. Their words stung, but I kept my head high. The judgment and gossip were small prices to pay for the peace and freedom I had finally found. Meanwhile, Willie's life continued to unravel. His pride had taken a severe blow, and the once admired man now struggled to maintain his tarnished reputation. Through mutual acquaintances, I learned that he had moved back in with his parents, an embarrassing detail he tried desperately to keep hidden. While echoes of the past lingered, this new chapter in my life stood as a testament to my resilience. It was clear that a brighter future lay ahead for both Catherine and me, no matter what the whispers said. Eventually, the truth about Willie moving back in with his parents became widely known. Carol's situation hadn't improved either. Her interference in our marriage had alienated many of her friends, and the bond she once shared with Willie was now deeply frayed. They barely spoke, their relationship strained by blame and regret. As for me, I found comfort in the unwavering support of my family. My brother, Russell, had moved closer, becoming a constant source of strength and reassurance. My parents showered Catherine with love and affection, helping to heal the scars left by the past. One day, while savoring a quiet moment with a cup of coffee in my kitchen, I reflected on the journey I had endured, the pain, the struggle, and ultimately, the liberation. It had all led me to this serene moment. I hadn't merely survived. I had emerged stronger and more self-assured. My reverie was interrupted by the doorbell. When I opened the door, I found Willie standing there, a look of defeat etched across his face. "Amy, I'm sorry. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone," he said, his voice heavy with remorse. His apology, though long overdue, validated the choice I had made. "Thank you, Willie," I replied gently, "but it's too late. I've moved on." As I closed the door on Willie and the life we once shared, a profound sense of closure enveloped me. That chapter of my life had ended, and a new one was beginning. In this new chapter, I was the author of my own story, free to shape my future as I saw fit. Catherine's voice called out from the living room, and a smile spread across my face. I walked toward her, eager to embrace the life that lay ahead, a life brimming with possibilities and hope.